Tomorrow, the Senate goes on holiday recess to celebrate Thanksgiving, the holiday officially established by Abraham Lincoln to give thanks for finding a land of bounty in which they found freedom from King George. Well, you see where I'm going with this, kind of a mixed metaphor. In our fourth story tonight, this Thanksgiving might be a little different. Rollcall.com reporting that Senate Leader Harry Reid is considering making some senators stay behind in D.C. Thanksgiving time to prevent President Bush from ramming through what are called recess appointments, bypassing the Senate because they're out of town, and installing his own choices for key positions without a single vote in the Senate. Congress is already busy digging up and dealing with the deeds of previous Bush appointees, like State Department Inspector General Howard Krongard, whose stunning Blackwater testimony we told you about yesterday and about whom more in a moment. Now, Senator Reid has his eyes on potential appointees, such as James Holsinger, Mr. Bush's choice for Surgeon General, under fire for anti-gay positions in his church work, and still yet to answer written questions from the Senate. We learn now from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette that Mr. Holsinger resigned from a seminary board on Monday, anticipating that Mr. Bush will circumvent the confirmation process with a recess appointment to the Surgeon General position over Thanksgiving. Let's turn now to John Dean, author of Broken Government, How Republican Rule Destroyed the Legislative, Executive, and Judicial Branches, for the latest in our series of segments exploring the themes of his book. John, once again, great thanks for your time tonight.
Good evening, Keith.
Senator Reid deploying a token force of senators in the Capitol sort of as a watch guard to block recess appointments from the president. How rare is this, and what does it say about the status of our government?
Well, it's very rare. It's clearly an exercise in process where the Democrats are at last trying to counter what the Republicans have been doing for years, is to use and abuse and manipulate the process. What he's doing is preventing the Senate from actually going out of session, so there could be no recess appointment when there was no session, and so he really has just enough to keep it legally within the bounds of the session. I hope he does it. I hope he does it for Thanksgiving, and I hope he does it for Christmas, because not only the names you mentioned, but there are a slew of radical judges that would also be affected that he couldn't slide onto the court.
Yeah, if we used to have to keep the college radio station on the air over Thanksgiving and holiday break, Christmas break, I don't see why somebody can't stick around the Senate to prevent bad things from happening, like the transmitter blowing up. But this Dr. Holsinger, whatever problems he may have had in past positions on gay rights, Mr. Bush already put in place one acting Surgeon General, Stephen Galson, who was widely criticized for putting politics and putting theology ahead of science when he blocked the Plan B contraceptive. What is the Senate supposed to do about choices like that one?
Well, acting, of course, are different than recess. They're actually put in the job, and they're on the job and issuing orders, and they're taking charge of a department, agency, or whatever. And what Congress must do, and they have done it in a few instances, is write laws that do not let them do this, that give them a very limited period in which they can stay in that acting post, then they're out. They need to do this government-wide because the Bush administration has broken all records of prior predecessors in doing this and using this ploy.
Yeah, it's take a title, find the worst possible position or the least possibly qualified person to fill that position, and we watched this almost Kafkaesque spectacle unfolding yesterday. This Howard Krongard, the State Department's ethics watchdog, specifically charged with investigating the Blackwater mercenaries, and of course he testified, my brother's not on Blackwater's advisory board. Then he came back after the break, he said, well, my brother just told me he is on Blackwater's advisory board. Then the brother went public saying, no, I told Howard that I was on the advisory board weeks ago. This is the ethics watchdog. What do you do about the ethics watchdog when he has clearly no ethics or no memory?
Well, obviously the ethics speak for themselves. I need to add nothing to that. And what's remarkable is indeed that the Krongard brothers can't get their own stories together. At least you'd think they would have tidied that up when they did touch base. But this is indeed the charge that basically Waxman has made against this Inspector General, is that he's incompetent.
And he said in his opening testimony, and this wasn't the headline, obviously, when he took the job, he knew very little about it. Why did a Republican Congress consider somebody like that appropriate to protect the ethics at the State Department during wartime?
Well, actually, he has a very impressive resume, but the problem with the resume is it is zero government experience. And since Bush won, Keith, they've been trying to appoint the least qualified person to these Inspector General posts that they can, and they have succeeded. And I think this is a classic case of that very kind of action, and it's become part of the theory of how to downgrade this post.
All you need is a resume. John Dean on Broken Government, the author of the book by the same name. Great thanks for your time, John.
Always. Thank you.